Happy birthday, Robbie. Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. Today it's going to be a story time video in honor of Robert Englund's 77th birthday. I'm going to regale you with the 3 times I got to meet the man himself, but I also want to hear down below the times that you got to meet him. Not just Robert, but like a horror icon, or even not even a horror icon, just when you met someone and you walked away absolutely beaming and feeling inspired. That's what I love about Robert. I call him the fans man. He is one of those people who just goes above and beyond, will talk your ear off, but will give you the time for when you have to say pay for an autograph. Not only do you get an autograph, you get a damn good, unique conversation with the man. So again, I'm going to regale you with the 3 times I got to meet him. Over certain videos, I have talked about the 3 separate times I've met him, but essentially this video is all of those stories consolidated into one. Now, let's go back in time to 2010. I was 21 years old, recently single, and there was a convention coming up in LA at the LAX Marriott called Weekend of Horrors. I believe this was hosted by Fangoria. I could be wrong, and I just wanted to meet Robert. Robert has been one of the biggest inspirations, and Freddy, of course, and is one of the reasons why I do what I do today, whether it be what I'm doing now or also prop work in general, just to see what someone who was a thespian actor, who came from a thespian background, went on to do with the character of Freddy. I absolutely loved, and I just wanted to meet the man. Again, recently single, I had all the time in the world, I had saved up a couple of dollary dues, so my intention was to either take mum or dad to LA and to go to Weekend of Horrors and meet Robert. And mum and dad looked at me and were like, why don't you just go yourself? We're not fucking going. I'm like, even better, a parentless holiday. Fantastic. So I booked my tickets, and I was actually using my dad's staff travel because dad used to work for Qantas, like I used to work for Qantas. So I was still on dad's staff travel, or I think in the States you guys call it the family and friends discount. So I was on standby for the flight, but it meant a cheaper ticket price. Again, I'd saved up some dollary dues, but not exactly enough for a full fare return ticket to Los Angeles. So I was on standby, and the flight was looking pretty full. And at one point, dad's friends were on the flight. They were operating the flight, and they said to dad, John, we'll probably just put Chris in the jump seat as long as he's okay with that. And I'm like, mate, you can put me in the cargo hold. I just want to get there. Lo and behold, there was a few cancellations at the very last minute. Got on the flight, got an economy, absolutely pearler of a flight. I was just beaming and excited. Got to LA, spent a few days doing the touristy stuff in the lead up to the event at the LAX Marriott. Now, when it came to Weekend of Horrors as an event, it was incredible, and I met some incredible people that I'm actually still friends with to this very day. We still reconnect now and then on social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook. The vendors there were amazing. I actually got to have a little bit part in I Am Nancy, the Heather Langenkamp documentary, as you see me right here with my Justin Bieber-esque hair, all shy, having no idea how the fuck to talk in front of a camera. Nothing's changed. So there was a Friday, Saturday, and the Sunday. And the Saturday when I was going to be meeting the man himself. Now, I paid for a photo op, an autograph, and also the VIP experience. I didn't know exactly what that entailed, but if it meant spending more time with the man himself, I was all for it. So it came time to get the photo op. And this was going to be the first time I'd ever laid eyes on Robert in person and also meeting him. So I had one of my friend's gloves on. There was a gentleman by the name of Ross Arbuckle who used to have Dream gloves, and I was wearing his Part 4 glove, I believe, from memory. So we're standing in line, the line gets shorter and shorter, go around the corner, and there he is with the backdrop, taking photos and just being an absolute champ, doing the Freddy laugh. And my heart sank in the best way possible. I got the full-blown anxiety belly, the nerves kicked in, came up to him. He was wearing a glove as well, and he's like, nice to meet you. And he goes, let's put the gloves together like a bro fist. I'm like, you've done this before, man. You're such a pro. Went about doing my stuff on the con floor, picked up my photo, and then came time for the quote-unquote VIP experience. And apparently I was the only one that had bought a VIP experience ticket. In other words, I was probably that much of a chum to buy that ticket. And no one really knew exactly what it entailed, what to do. The officials were kind of scratching their heads. And there was Robert in the corridor talking with fans. I then went up and got another photo, this photo that you see right here of him choking me, and it was amazing. I tried not to call him daddy. But then I said to the officials, I'm like, hey, what about my VIP experience? Like, oh, of course. And they're like, Robert, Chris has got one of the VIP experience. He goes, come with me. So we went into an empty conference room with like a shitload of round tables, and it looks like an empty conference room ready to be like dressed for a wedding reception. Robert sat down with me, his assistant brought him a glass of white wine, and I had a portfolio with all of my gloves that I had built at the time. I built a shitload of gloves, the part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, specifically for this event. Now, obviously I couldn't take them with me overseas, but I took photos of them, had them in a portfolio to show Robert. Now, Robert's one of those people that doesn't know these gloves back to front. He just wore them as a prop along with the makeup and the costume. It's more or less one of those things where you have to talk to glove builders or people that built the gloves that know the details. But Robert kind of has surface level knowledge when it comes to gloves. But he went through them. He says these are great. You know, you've got the same leathers, so he knew what the leathers look like. I asked him about getting into acting, and he gave me some great advice. And he just took the time, and you could tell when I was talking to him and he wasn't talking. He was engaged. He was listening, and he regaled me with stories and how he got into acting and some great advice. We were there for about 15 minutes, just one-on-one, and I walked away just absolutely beaming. Went home, back to Sydney, and it was just one of the greatest experiences ever, and if anything, gave me more drive and motivation to start building gloves a lot more, really honing my skills as a sculptor, mold maker, caster, and obviously get into acting. Now, let's fast forward 2 years. Here in Sydney, there is an event coming up called Shock Horror, The Nightmare Returns. This is a one-off convention, never been repeated. I don't know if financially it did well and they just didn't do another one, or just one of those things where it was a one and done. So Robert Englund, Lisa Wilcox, Ken Sagos, John Jarrett were going to be appearing here in Parramatta in Sydney at a convention center. So I went about and made a shitload of gloves and also some busts to have a booth there. I applied to have a booth with all my props, and it was easy because it was like 40 minutes down the road, even though I did book accommodation right next door to the convention center. And again, I purchased a VIP experience. I wanted to just get the full experience and just get amongst it and just be there in the room with Robert, regaling people with stories, because there's such a great vibe and a great mood. The atmosphere in the room is always great when Robert's there. He just brings the mood up. He walks into a room and he just knows how to work a crowd when you're shy. He knows how to work it, engage in conversation. So the Saturday and the Sunday went really well. I sold out of all my gloves, the busts I had, and at one point Robert's assistant came up to me and said, and I've repeated this ad nauseum in many other videos, "Can Robert use one of your gloves for photo ops for the full day?" I go, "Absolutely." She goes, "Great, he will sign it and give it back to you as a token of appreciation." I go, "Which one would you like?" She goes, "He loves a part 4. And I go, "There you go, I got a part 4 right there." And then it came time to get my photo op, and I also had my Freddy's Dead The Final Nightmare bust that I had sculpted for a client that was going to be displayed with a screen used Freddy's Dead sweater. But this is a copy that I made. The original copy was with the client, but I made a new one from the silicone mold to sell at this weekend, and I hadn't exactly sold it yet. It did end up selling, but I still had it in my possession at the booth. So I thought, I want to show Robert my bust and also him wearing my glove. So this is the photo that we got together, and I've shown this a couple of times, but there you go, with my Justin Bieber hair, Robert wearing my part 4 glove, and my Freddy's Dead The Final Nightmare bust. Now, when I got to have a chat with him with the one-on-one sort of VIP experience, and it was like a rotating room. It was like speed dating. You know, you have a one-on-one with Lisa Wilcox, Ken Sagos, John Jarrett, even though John Jarrett was a cranky bastard and called me a cunt. Robert was great. And in this footage here, this sneaky bit of footage, he's talking about the cut scene from when he's dragging Tina up the wall, and you can actually see Freddy in the footage that they ultimately cut from the film.
With her boyfriend looking at her, he's really strapped in. And I drop her legs. You don't see Tina, you just see between her legs, like a gynecologist. And I blew her a kiss. And the blood from her legs congealed. It was stage blood on my legs. And when I blew her the kiss, it was a red blood bubble. So, kiss of death, right?
But when I did ask Robert what he thought of my glove, he said, "I loved it." He goes, "The only thing is my arthritis is playing up, so it's a little bit hard to maneuver the gloves these days." And I just thought, oh man, you're getting on, but my God, you're a sweetheart. And that weekend wrapped up and it was brilliant. Again, another wonderful experience. Cut to my most recent time meeting him, and that is 2016 here in Sydney at Oz Comic Con at Glebe Island, just about 5 minutes out from the CBD here in Sydney. And it was a big deal that Robert was coming to Australia for a big con. Like, he'd come for Shock Horror, but the fact that he was coming for Oz Comic Con was a big deal. And I got to meet him once again, this time dressed up as Nathan Drake. So I got the photo op, and then also I wanted to get something signed by him, but not just something usual, just like a DVD or a Blu-ray. I wanted to get something that was quite rare and very niche. So I got him to sign my original Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare vinyl soundtrack, and it says, "To Chris from DJ Freddy." Now, he lost his absolute mind when he saw this, because on the back, there are rare promo photos that he had not seen, and he was fascinated by it. And that's what I love about Robert. You bring him something obscure, like a poster from Thailand or some international poster. He loves it. He analyzes it. He goes all over it, and he just engages in conversation. And he shook my hand like several times, like, "Thank you for bringing this. I haven't seen these photos in years." And they just brought back so many good memories. And that was 2016. So that was the last time I got to meet the man himself. And hopefully it's not the last time altogether. I know Robert's getting on, but I would just love to meet him one more time. And I guess to wrap up this video, I just want to say thank you to Robert. And if you haven't seen his latest documentary, Hollywood Nightmares, I highly recommend checking it out, because Robert came from a household where acting wasn't the norm. It wasn't ideal. From memory, Robert's dad was an engineer on spy planes, and he wanted Robert to become an engineer or a lawyer. And he lost his mum quite early on, so it was just him and his dad, and there was a bit of tension, and I totally relate to that. When I left a full-time job at Qantas to pursue all this, caused a bit of tension with myself and my dad. But like, to this day, my dad is proud as punch with what I do. And it was the same with Robert. Like, Robert's dad walked on the set of Nightmare 4, and there's Robert like stuck to the partition of the church, and all the souls are coming out, and he's covered in makeup, and his dad's like, "That's my son, the performer, the thespian. I love you, son." And that's what I love. Robert went against the grain, did his own thing. He got his thespian training, and all those beautiful elements came together for him to portray Freddy, and it just worked out so damn well. Even though by the end, by Freddy's Dead and say the Dream Child, he was an absolute lunatic and a Looney Tune and a caricature of what we ultimately got in 1984, 85, 87. But I just still love the man and can't thank him enough for everything, and for the inspiration, and for just being such an absolute cool cat when it comes to meeting fans. So with that being said, happy birthday, sir. And for you guys, please drop a comment below and let me know of a time if you got to meet Robert Englund. What was that experience like? Well, not just Robert, like if you've met another horror icon or another celebrity, or just someone who inspires you and you walked away beaming and inspired. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.